All right, so many of you received the email I sent laying out all the options for how we're going to manage both logistically and educationally the home stretch here for the 8th graders and the 12th graders. Now, the 8th graders customarily graduate with the 12th graders in an effort to help them visualize, where do we want them to be in 4 years. The 8th graders also have final exams. And considering the fact that their end of class date is 1 week before the rest of the school closes, it creates a logistical issue. Meaning, how can we give the 8th graders a final exam and then give the same final exam to the 7th graders or the 6th graders or the other classes, because we've got them by level arranged. And then also, I think the more pressing concern here is just balance down through May and into June. So, as is currently planned and has been the case for a long time, the reasons of which we don't know, but it's always good to reflect upon. The high school entrance exam usually takes place in April or May, which is a 3-hour test. Then we do our school-wide standardized testing, which is the Iowa basic norms assessment. And then they'll have their final exams in up to 6 classes, all within a period of 8 weeks. Now, if we're going to do what we say we're trying to do, which is not go down the path of excessive standardized testing or just too many assessments, obviously we're put in a tough place here. And I really think that as a result, we're seeing poorer results on the high school entrance exam by our 8th graders, as well as really just, if you look at the graphs, they go like this, and then when they get to 8th grade and basically math, English, science, there's a dip. So if our students are trending up, there's an obvious downturn as we approach the end of the year. So all this just creates this problem. And we still want to give them tools. We still want to give them some type of summative assessment so that they can begin to enter that final stage of our classical curriculum, which is the rhetoric stage. And in brainstorming with a couple of you and just looking around at what other classical schools are doing, I've thought of this interdisciplinary project. So the proposal that I have for you is, instead of final exams, what we would do is we would roll out this student-based project, meaning they're going to come up with some issue, topic, event, idea, whatever, and then they're going to have to go through a brainstorming process, a planning process, and then ultimately they're going to be able to use their own intrinsic interest and then create some physical project in addition to a expository essay that doesn't have to be extensive, but just kind of helps them clarify their thoughts. And then also, if they want to, they could either participate in a fair setting where people would go around and they might ask about, oh, so you're doing, for example, I think one of our students is doing human genetic engineering. So, how do I look at that from a math perspective? How do I look at that from a historical perspective? How do I look at that from the prism of theology? How do I look at that through the prism, obviously, of science? And then what type of skills am I going to use from my language arts study to kind of express exactly what this issue is, and also communicate the significance of that issue from a diversity of perspectives. So the idea here is to do an interdisciplinary study, and then with that interdisciplinary study to go forth and communicate basically the findings. And again, this would be instead of final exams. So the students would have, at least they need, in my estimation, 10 to 12 weeks down the stretch here. And what they would do is they would be using their class time Obviously, if they have their science teacher would be giving them feedback and input about how they could connect their topic to science. Math, how can they be using charts and equations and the like to connect to their topic. And again, the whole goal of this is to, I guess, extend our mission into new territory. So I'm always saying, why are we doing this? Does it make sense? And do we have to change it? And that's just a good reflective practice year in and year out. And I think this would be a neat opportunity for the 8th grade students to have some type of capstone educational experience that will help broaden their minds, because when they get to high school, we know that there's a huge conceptual jump and they always struggle. And really, one of the greatest challenges they face is making those connections between different fields of knowledge and then applying that to one particular topic. So again, I'm just throwing this out there to the faculty first. Many of you I've spoken with in the hallways or in the parking lot or even in your classroom, and I'm gathering that there's a lot of interest in this. So I put out that email to you basically with what are the options, and now we all get to decide: A, do we want to move forward with this? B, do we have anything to add? And then C, just doesn't make sense. So what I'm hoping is that we will come to a consensus, and we can make this a really enriching opportunity for the 8th grade class that will, A, give them more balance, avoid excessive testing, help them have a positive experience socially as they approach what's a pretty important moment, 8th grade graduation, but at the same time making an improvement with academically the way we help our 8th graders become better prepared for high school. So now your input, please share, and thanks for listening.